Mic check 1 2 1 2. Welcome. This is the Justin Dunning Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Dunning. And man, I'm really excited to be here. Really excited to say the least. Let me start off by saying that, I have some good news and I have some bad news. Bad news is this is actually not episode 1 of the podcast. This is episode 0. But the good news is episode 0 is an introduction to me. So you get to learn more about Justin Dunning, your host. You can decide if you love me or hate me, if you want to continue watching this show or not. And if you're already watching it down the road, you can refer back to me and hopefully you already love me. But, what the introduction is, I want to introduce you guys to a little bit about my background. I want to introduce you guys to why I wanted to start podcasting in the first place. And I want to introduce you guys to the podcast and what it's going to be about. And so, with that being said, let me kind of flash back a little bit because I believe that, I'm huge on transparency. I'm huge on, getting to know one another because that's the only way that we can understand one another. And, for me to expect you guys to listen to my opinions or try to understand my opinions, you got to know something about me. So let me reflect back to, a little bit about my childhood, a little bit about my background. So I grew up in a single parent household, raised by a single mother who worked really, really hard to support me and my 5 siblings. Even as a young child, when I couldn't really understand our financial situation, that was something I could appreciate, that she would go to work every day for us. And, sometimes 16 hours a day she would be gone working. And my older sister would be there taking care of the younger ones. And so, I appreciated that. Throughout my childhood, I had a lot of uncontrollables in my life. And, that's not necessarily good for a kid or for anybody, as a matter of fact. And I think as a kid, I was searching for something concrete that I could hold on to. I was searching for something with a strong foundation that I could say that, this is it, this is under control. And I didn't really have that for a large period of my life. So I started to gravitate towards sports because sports, it was an outlet for me. And not only that, sports was merit-based. So if you put in an extremely large amount of work, you would get an extremely large reward. And that was something I really appreciated because anything that I put into it would be reciprocated back towards me. So I began participating in sports. It was really, really fun. And so, I became pretty good at it. As I grew up, I got into high school and, I started to grow a little bit, getting a little bit more muscular, started playing a little bit better, becoming a little bit more coordinated after I hit my growth spurt. And, it was a lot of fun. I was seeing there were older people coming out of my school who were going to be successful at different colleges and even at the next level. And I saw that and I latched onto it and I said, if they can do it, I can do it too. So that's when I kind of dedicated my life and started, kind of modeling my life around the game of sports. And once I did that, I became really, really good. And so I started getting offers, scholarship offers to different colleges. I was one of the top players in the country as a safety. I was a little slim Jim back in the day. Not quite as big as I am now, but I was a safety back then running around covering boys. And, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. And, I kind of think that because I was so locked into it, it kind of messed me up down the road. But it was fun at the time because I was kind of living like a little miniature celebrity, I guess as big as you could, like in a small East Texas town. So felt like a celebrity. Wasn't really one, but it was fun nonetheless. And so anyways, I ended up, going into my junior year, which was a highly anticipated year for our football team. We had a very good team that year. And, I tore my ACL the second game of the season. And so that's the first adversity I had run into in terms of sports because I kind of felt like I was invincible. I'm sitting at the top of the world and nothing can happen to me. So, everything is going good. And so I tore my ACL, and that was kind of an eye-opener for me because it was the first time that I was away from sports since I had, kind of went into stardom or whatever I called it, So took a step back in life, and I felt like people started to look at me differently, and they were kind of treating me differently. People weren't walking up to me saying, "Oh, Justin, blah, blah, blah." About football, they were just, talking about my knee or, it was a different kind of feeling there, and I didn't really like that. So what I did, because that kind of scarred me, at my young age, I took a mindset towards it that was like this. I said that I never want to feel this pain again, and I never want to have this experience where I feel left out and I feel like I can't participate and I can't help. And so I wanted to grind so hard to get back that I never had to feel that feeling again. And while that was good, in terms of my recovery, in terms of actually bouncing back, yeah, that was great. It wasn't necessarily good for me down the road, and I kind of wish I learned that then, but I know now. So I mean, I guess it turned out good. Anyway, so I came back and played my senior year. Kind of a rocky season for our team, but I mean, I was just glad to be out there, back from injury. So that was a lot of fun for me, and I ended up signing with Texas A&M. Came here to play. Kevin Sumlin gave me a chance. Shout out to him. It's my guy. Came to play here. Another rocky freshman year. I was behind two very good players, Justin Evans, Armani Watts, and I just tried to make the most of my opportunities. My time finally came mid-season, or a little bit towards the end, probably about three quarters of the way through, and my time finally came where I had the opportunity to be a starter, and so things are finally starting to look up. I'm not playing much all season, and now I'm a starter, so things are about to be really good, right? And so first game starting, everything's going great, just as planned. I even get a freaking interception in the end zone, one of the brightest moments of my career, my true freshman year. Awesome. I tried to take it out. Got tackled on like the 7-yard line. Coaches made fun of me, but it was all good anyways. And so had a really good game. I ended up getting player of the game, which was big for me. And, things were looking really, really good for me. But, it's just like things happen in life. When things are starting to look up, there's a little bit of darkness creeping around the corner, and there's a little bit of negativity that wants to come and knock you back down. And then the following game after that, when things were looking so good for me and I'm thinking I'm the man walking around town, I tore my ACL again. That second one wasn't really as bad as the first one mentally. People normally think that, you have an injury, you re-injure something, it's like, oh my goodness, add an insult to injury kind of thing. But, for me, I had a different mindset heading into it. And mine was this: I've been through it already. Why can't I do it again? And so, my mindset towards that and the way I attacked it was differently, because there's so much when it comes to injuries that is completely mental, and it's just you pushing past a barrier that you have to get your mind through to tell yourself that your body can actually do it. And I was already past that barrier. I was good. And so, for me, it was just actually getting back out there and time passing so I could get back on the field. So I attacked and I killed the offseason. Really good offseason, went into fall camp, recovered, I'm feeling healthy. And, to be honest, this is the best my knees have ever felt at this time. I had 2 injuries on my left knee at that point, but my left knee was feeling, almost stronger than my right, and things are going good. It's a little bit of foreshadowing. But anyways, so I get into fall camp, things are going good. Highly anticipated season opener versus UCLA. We're playing against Josh Rosen. He's one of the top quarterbacks in the country, one of the top prospects. And things are just really going great. I'm trying to get every ticket in the locker room. I'm inviting all my boys back home to the game. I'm inviting all my coaches. I'm inviting my family. I'm like, hey, I'm about to go off this game. Y'all better come to the game. I'm about to go off. My time is finally here. I'm a sophomore. Things are going good. And, we get 2 weeks, a week and a half out from the game. And, we're in practice doing a special teams drill. And, I don't know how it happened, non-contact, but somehow I tore my other ACL. And so the knee that I never had problems with was now injured. And that really messed me up because, I'm sitting here, I'm a 19, 20-year-old kid, and, I've been attacking adversity my entire life. Like I said, had the kind of unstable childhood. I had the injuries in football as I've been coming up and starting to finally make plays. And I've been attacking adversity this whole time. The first injury, a little lump of sand in your way. The next one, just a little hurdle for you to climb. But the next one, I was like, man, this is 10 months after the second. I haven't even got back on the field yet. I haven't even, tasted a little bit of success yet. I just I was almost there. I had a little slice of cake on my plate, couldn't even eat it yet. And for me, that was really, really detrimental. It hurt me so badly because I didn't really know what was going on. And so at that point, I made my mind up I was going to retire from the game. I ended up going to talk to a couple people within the program, our great support staff over there, met with our team psychologist, met with Mikado Henson, who's a great friend of mine, team chaplain. And, I pretty much just told him I was going to retire. And, Mikado was saying, you can go talk to Coach Sumlin about your decision, but I hope you're making the right one. And then he gave me this little nugget that I'll never forget. He said, "Why don't you come into our team meeting later today?" And in my head, I'm thinking I don't want to, because here's the thing about this. I forgot to mention, I had been separated from the team for about 2 to 3 weeks after my injury, because I made my mind up. I was done. I wasn't playing anymore. I had been separated from the team, and so for me to go and speak to Mikado this day, and he offered me to come into the team meeting. It was kind of big because it wasn't really supposed to happen. I wasn't even supposed to even be there. And so just kind of, God's timing and how it's been working out. And so I ended up coming into the team meeting. I had my hood on. I'm sitting in the back. I don't want people to see me, because I've been like a freaking hermit crab separate from the program. And so, I'm in the team meeting, and the speaker comes up. First thing I notice, he has one arm. And so, he walks up, I'm looking, now he's got my attention. I'm like, who's this fellow with one arm up there talking to us? And so, he begins sharing his story. And long story short, his name is Inky Johnson. He's a world-renowned public speaker. And so, I know it sounds extremely, vanilla ice cream to say, but I felt like everything that he was saying was meant for me to hear. And, he even went out of his way. Him and Mikado, they both found a way to contact me, and I spoke with Inky. He called me later that night after he gave his speech or whatever, and, we ended up talking. I shared my story with him. He shared a story with me, and, he really played an extremely big part to my life in such a pivotal moment. In a moment where I could have went 2 separate ways, he played a really big role, and that was kind of giving me a different mindset and a different approach to this entire thing. Whereas my mindset had been all, let me grind, let me eat, let me go to the NFL, he kind of gave me a different little nugget, and he said that what if this injury is happening to you for people that are other than just yourself? And so when I heard that, I thought, and I was like, man, maybe this is me. I don't really know, but it was a possibility. And so I took that nugget from whenever we had our conversation, and I carried it with me. And so I kind of put it in my back pocket, didn't really pay much attention to it. And so anyways, I ended up recovering for a little bit, 3-4 months out. I'm feeling really good. At this point, I don't really know if I'm coming back or not. I just wanted to kind of see how I felt throughout the process. And so anyways, I get 3-4 months out. I'm looking back at some videos I've made throughout the entire process. Things are looking really, really good for me. I'm like, man, I look kind of nice. I might be too nice not to come back, And so I end up, posting the videos on my Twitter account. I got so much love and so much support from all the fans. It was crazy. You guys are absolutely phenomenal. And, that spoke volumes to me, because people were reaching out to me saying, hey, man, your story is extremely inspiring to me. And I'm looking at it like, me? I'm inspiring you, and it was the first time I had seen that, and it's the first time I got support from people, and I got to see that I was making an impact outside of just sports, and I got to see how my story was impacting others' lives, just me just living it in the first place. And so it shifted my mindset. I decided to come back. I wanted to play 1 more year, 2 more years, whatever it took. And so I came back to play 1 more time. Now I'm wearing freaking 2 knee braces. I'm wearing knee brace on my right leg, 1 on my left. Out there trying to run around playing linebacker. Got moved down positions to defensive end, which was a good move for me. But, I'm out there walking around feeling like a freaking, I'm feeling like Megatron from freaking Transformers. People are making fun of me. Shout out Kendall Bussey. Anyways, not really moving around the same, but it was good to be back on a team, and it was good to be around my brothers again, which is it's such a big aspect of the game that people forget. It's really a brotherhood, and it feels good being a part of something that's bigger than yourself with the larger purpose, and that's why sports is amazing. But side note. Anyways, I'm back out there. I'm playing again, and, I meet with Terry Price, who I didn't like up until that point, but he became my coach, and, I found all kind of love for him because he's a wonderful guy, wonderful person, wonderful coach. And so, as I was working with him at defensive end, my mindset kind of shifted again. I started taking a little step backwards, and I said, you know what? Maybe I can still play in the NFL. I tore my ACL 3 times, but, maybe I can still get past that barrier, and I can get in there and I can still play. And so I ended up, getting onto the field more and more. Still having instances where I was tweaking my knees, and I'm kind of feeling like an old man walking up the stairs going home, but I still had a little glimmer of hope. And all that hope was erased, the Ole Miss game. It was Ole Miss last year, 2017, second to last game of the season, almost there. And I'm pass rushing. I worked a little move on the right tackle, pass rushing upfield, run past the quarterback. Simple move. We counter back at the quarterback's depth. So I spin back inside. As I spin, I felt my knee gave out. And at that moment, I knew, I was like, oh, man, this can't be it. This can't be, my entire story up until this point, this can't be it. And, I kind of describe all these injuries like this. You have the dream sometime where you're falling off a cliff and you're about to hit the ground, but then you wake up. And so, my first dream, it's like I'm falling, my first tear, and I wake up and I'm like, oh, it's just a dream. I'm still here. My second one, I'm falling. I get a little bit closer, but I wake up still and I'm like, okay, it's just a dream. My third one, the same thing happens, and I'm like, man, maybe these are just dreams and it's impossible for me to actually hit the ground. But that fourth injury actually came. Another ACL tear on my right leg this time, so 2 and 2. And that fourth one came, and it's like I fell off this cliff into the darkness, and I finally hit the ground, and I didn't wake up. And so now I'm laying here at rock bottom, and I'm trying to decide what should I do, because I didn't really think this moment was possible. And even though I had injuries, I didn't really see a situation where I would be without sports. And so now things are different. Things are really different. And it was a rough transition process getting away from sports. I spent some time back home with my family. It was just different, really different being outside of it, because you put so much work and so much time into it. It's hard to develop that identity outside of it. And so what I eventually did after I came back to College Station after a couple months, I just wouldn't go around the football program, wouldn't see them much. And, the summer came, 2018. I'm doing an internship with Northwestern Mutual. And, I see Gabe Bach. Gabe Bach, works at Tay-Sags. He's the host of the radio show. I meet him somewhere, maybe at a practice or something like that. I don't know. I meet him somewhere, and he gives me the opportunity. He says, hey, man, do you want to come on the show, talk some football? And so I'm like, sure, why not, man? I come on the show, no big deal, whoop-de-whoop. Hits me up again. I come back onto the show another time. I'm like, okay, that was a little bit more fun, but, whatever. So he hits me up again, and I come onto the show another time. And, after 3 times, I'm like, okay, that was a little bit fun. So now it flipped, and the roles are kind of reversed. I'm hitting him up, and I'm like, hey, can I get on the show? Get me on the show. And it kind of evolved, and then I ended up, where I am now. Me and Trevor Knight are doing we're doing a weekly show every Wednesday at 9 o'clock called Figure 8. We both were number 8, so that's kind of where we got the name from. I think it's pretty cool. You guys can think it's lame, but whatever. Anyway, so, the radio thing was really fun because I got to see that people were valuing my opinion, and that was really cool. People were seeing me at the games, and they were seeing me at the stadium, and instead of saying, oh, my God, you're the guy with the knee injuries, oh, my goodness, God bless you, kissing on my knees and stuff, they're seeing me, and they're saying, oh, man, I heard you on the radio the other day. You had some really valuable insight, and that was really cool. And that was big. And so at that point, I started getting the idea for a podcast. And the podcast is merely a platform for me to express myself freely. And as an athlete, here's my thing. As an athlete, we are in a bubble in a sense. And what I mean by that is we have to represent our university, our coaches, our families, our team. And we have to wear, in a sense, a certain mask to kind of portray the image that they want you to portray. And which is not necessarily a bad thing. It brings out the best in us, and it teaches us to be professionals and teaches us to be good young men, which is huge. But my thing is, the only time people get to see me is in my interviews where I'm sitting up straight and I'm, have to say something like this or off a script or whatever it is. Or, I'm tweeting out where I can tweet about certain things, but I can't really tweet about what I want to tweet about. Or they just see me on the field where, I'm playing and rah, rah, I'm yelling and whatnot and everything's gravy. But I didn't really have a platform for me to freely express myself. And that's what the Justin Dunning podcast is. I have so many different things I see, whether it's on social media, whether it's in the news, whether it's, a buddy comes to me with it. That may be a controversial topic. And I can't really put my honest opinion on it. But now I can. And it's about to be a lot of fun. And so I think it's huge for giving athletes a platform and ability to express themselves. I know I got some valuable opinions that you guys would love to hear, or at least I think you would love to hear. Let me know if you don't. But it's going to be huge. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so the cards are played out in my favor. I told Billy Lucci about my idea. Billy Lucci, part owner of TexAgs, told him about my idea, and I was going to record this podcast in my living room. Me and my roommate OT, I told OT about it. He was cool with it. And so I was going to do it in my living room, and I was telling Billy about it. And, he said, you know what, man, you can come up and use the TexAgs studio. And so that's kind of hence the TexAgs in the background. They let me use the studio. Those guys are amazing. And so, they've been extremely helpful. Shout out to those guys. But the cards have really played out in my favor. And now I'm sitting here with this podcast, and it's going to be a lot of fun. That's kind of how I got into it and what the podcast is actually going to be about. So I still go to Texas A&M. I'm still an athlete here, student athlete, So I'm going to talk a lot of A&M sports. Is where I have a lot of credibility. It's where I know a lot of people. And I can bring in some high-quality guests, in terms of Texas A&M sports. We're going to talk sports SEC-wide, country-wide, across the state of Texas, where I currently live. It's going to be a lot of fun. And also, we're talking hot topics in sports. We're going to have a guest on every single week that I think can add some valuable insight. And it's going to be really, really big because some of them are going to be athletes themselves. And my objective is to create an environment where we can, sit back and maybe kick our feet up and just have conversation. And my goal for the podcast is for the audience, whoever's listening, to just kind of be in the room, just listening to the conversation. I don't want to put them in a position where, they feel like they're doing an interview or something like that. We're just having conversation. So it's going to be a lot of fun. That's the gist of this podcast. If you guys are still listening, assuming that someone is listening right now, I love you so much. And so you guys can go follow the social media page at J Dunning Podcast. I would definitely give you guys a follow back. That's on Twitter, J Dunning Podcast, on Instagram, on Facebook, at J Dunning Podcast. One thing I'm also doing for people is I'm posting this as a video series on my YouTube channel. And that's so you guys can actually see me in studio. Not that you want to see me, but in case you do, you guys can see me in studio, and it'll be a little bit more visual experience rather than just audio. And so I'm posting this to my YouTube channel. That's the Justin Dunning Network. You guys can follow me on there, subscribe to the channel. For the videos, you guys can leave comments, like, subscribe, whatever you might want to do, guys. And, I'll definitely appreciate it. And so, assuming that somebody is still listening right now, thank you so much for listening. It is always a blast, or it always will be a blast. I guess this is the first episode. So it'll be a blast in the future, man. And, it'll be an extreme blessing to have you here, have you a part of this. And I hope you know me a little bit better now. Hopefully you like me a little bit better now. I want to get to know you guys too. So communicate with me on social media. And be sure to tune in for the next episode because I have a very important guest on. He's a good friend of mine. I think can add a lot of insight and a lot of valuable conversation. But it's going to be a lot of fun. Hope you guys have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your day. Peace.